All right, guys. Today I'm coming to you from Clark's Falls, Yannatos Preserve, part of another AVALONIA site. Over here, almost on the Rhode Island border. This is with my man here again, my partner. But this is North Stonington on Route 216, which runs parallel to 184. I'll show you more about this, like where this location is, but this is a site of, our area beginning to turn from agriculture to industry, okay, like the industrialization of our area. And this was the site of a sawmill, okay, and AVALONIA has preserved it. It's pretty cool. It's kind of nondescript. You could drive by it, not even know it's here. But it's pretty cool. There's a Sluiceway, kind of what we were talking about before from up at Green Falls. And actually, the river that I'm going to show you guys right now is the Green Falls River, which is the very same river that I showed you guys when we went up to the Green Falls Dam. This is downriver several miles, but once again, we're going to see kind of what a sluice way is, how they kind of channeled water to then use pieces like this eventually. These are artifacts from the mill to turn, machines basically, to run a mill, to run saws, to run looms and all kinds of different machinery as we began to industrialize. So this site is, preserved as a, it's kind of a preserving our past as a early industrial country, if you will. This is the stone bridge here to kind of access some of the other areas of this location. Oftentimes, I've never been here when the water's been so low, as has often been the case this, at this time in the fall of 2020. Today I'm here on Columbus Day. My dog is getting me all turned around here. I'm here on Columbus Day, and you can see the water is very, very low. Because oftentimes, last time I was here was last winter, and I couldn't even get over this bridge. The water was so high that the bridge was swamped, and wasn't able to really get down here. But this is the Green Falls River. You can see kind of walking along the bed here. I'm going to hop up here real quick. Come on, Eddie. Okay, we'll go through the trails here. This area is perfect as an example of preservation and conservation, where, AVALONIA preserving it, keeping it for posterity forever. But starting in this area began to be developed in the 1600s, late 1600s. Eventually, it went from farming, primarily farmland, which it still is. I mean, we'll look at this on Google Maps. I mean, if you want to see what our area, what Stonington High School looked like a couple hundred years ago, come out to this area. I mean, the farmland is incredible. You forget that you're only a few miles from Stonington High School when you're here. So we'll look at that on Google Maps. But this area began to be milled. Like the river here was used as a power source to turn turbines and mills and generate power. And that power allowed for, primarily lumber in this case, to be processed, to be milled, to be, cut, if you will, and shaped to be used for building and for other projects. And this area, what they did was they channeled water from the Green Falls River through a sluiceway. And that sluiceway, the funneling of that water, taking it and kind of channeling it down, like narrowing its pathway, allows for tremendous power and energy to come from that water. So if you think of water, being, if you think of water in a wide open river, it's a lot of power, but it's sort of being dispersed throughout. Whereas if you take it and you channel it down and you put it through a narrower passageway, you kind of see the power of the water more. It's more on display. It's more channeled, literally and figuratively, into a more usable source for power. And that's what was happening on this location. So this area had a lot of that, basically had taken the Green Falls River and channeled it into a sluiceway, which I'm about to show you. It's not a huge thing, but kind of cool. And here it is. All right, so here, Sluiceway, this ditch is part of the Sluiceway that carried water from the dam on the Green Fall River to Clark's Fall Pond. From there, a second Sluiceway carried the water to the Clark's Fall factory, which was built in 1861 to 1863. The large dam can still be seen if you follow the trail to the right. Okay, so this is the Sluiceway. It's compression. We'll look at this on LiDAR. It's been filled in, obviously, but basically that river that I showed you when we were coming in, the Green Falls River, was diverted, and you can see some trees have fallen down and kind of little disrupted here, but that's okay. Basically they channeled that water. They took it and they dug out a trench of sorts called the Sluiceway, to harness the power of the Green Falls River, and to then power a dam. And this was in 1861 when this happened, but this land had been developed and farmed and cultivated going back to the 1600s. So it's sort of showing the evolution of this area. There are trees growing out of the Sluiceway. Now at one point, water would have been flowing through here. So again, kind of an example of conservation, literally the use of this area as a resource, and preservation now, keeping it, maintaining it. You can see, this is a forest essentially, but nonetheless, it was at one point an industrial site. It was a site to use water use the resource of water to power a mill. And again, this is Clark's Falls. This is where I think John Clark, I can't remember his name now, it's on the sign when you come in. He's the one that they named this area for. Clark's Falls. The dam he built, the factory he built, that was him. And it put a lot of people to work. So a lot of farmers in this area, in this North Stonington area, began migrating to work in places like this and earn currency, earn more money, especially after after the Civil War. And that leads us into this time period, the late 1800s. There's like a 30-year period where we dramatically increase our industrial output, and many Americans go from being farmers to living more industrial lives, like living in towns and cities and more populated areas. You can see rock wall over there, though, kind of demonstrating the agricultural past of this area. I was gonna take you guys up to the dam, but the pathway is blocked by trees down, so we won't be able to do that, but that's okay. Just wanted to show this to you. This is a great spot. It's a cool little hike. It's not a big to do, but close to where we're at, and kind of a cool example of our history, and a perfect example of both conservation and preservation, in that the conservation, meaning the conservation of water as a resource, from a historical standpoint, that's what was happening here. And then preservation, the fact that we're maintaining this and keeping this for forever. That's pretty cool, instead of it being developed. and wiped away from our history. It's important to keep our history and our present in tune with one another. And for our class, this is a great example of many of the things that we talk about in here. All right, 10 minutes is up. Talk to you later.